When we talk about HIV treatment, let's not forget the past. We look at the current.
Yes.
And you're talking about the future already.
Yes.
The future is, are we going to have a cure?
Yes.
Because, are we looking for treatments or are we just looking for cures?
We have a lot of people with high blood, sugar diabetes, HIV and AIDS, and other chronic diseases. I would like to know how important is it for them to visit a clinical research center?
So, first of all, what is great in most African countries is that people that have those conditions have access to treatment.
Yes.
So what is important is that people must take their treatment. For one to find a cure, you first need to understand when you have that condition, what aspect of most people, when they talk about the body, you're looking at the body like this.
The outer part of it.
There is hormones in the body. If there's regulators, like a body on itself is like a system. It's like the whole government.
It's quite an honor to be sitting here as a clueless person about clinical researching, but I'm willing to learn and I'm here to ask you questions that most communities or people in the communities would like to know. So I'm happy to join you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough Clinical Trials Lounge. I'm sure you're surprised. Why am I sitting like this today? I have a surprise for you. So you are with Dr. Nyeleti Bicky Mthombeni. Let me remind you again what the Breakthrough Clinical Trials Lounge is about. It's about educating the community about clinical research. It is also about advocating for more research to be done in Africa and to showcase the expertise that we have in Africa when it comes to conduct of research. Again, what is research? What am I talking about? Especially for those that will be joining for the first time. Because I think from today, based on the guest that I have, there will be so many people that will be joining for the first time. What am I talking about when I talk about clinical research? I'm talking about research in the medical field that leads to medicines or treatment or medical devices being available for the treatment of those that have different conditions. And we're going to talk about that. But I'm going to give you a bit of a background why this is important, and especially with the conversation that we're going to have today. So, I went to a medical school. It used to be called Medunza about 20 years ago, if I may say. I recall there was a guy that used to travel from a village in Vembe district in Limpopo. He used to travel, I think it was monthly, if it was not every second week, to go and do dialysis. I don't know if you guys have heard about dialysis. If I can give a definition of what dialysis is, it's like when your kidneys are no longer working properly. Your kidneys in the body, they work to cleanse the system of your body, to release the toxins of our body after everything that we take in have been used, and only the byproducts needs to be let out and through urine and stuff like that. So it gets to a point for people that have different conditions where the kidneys do not work anymore. So this guy used to travel all the way to Garankuwa Hospital to do dialysis. And I used to have to go and visit him because I was from the village where he came from, and my parents will advise me to check on him whenever I was there. And lately, on my way driving home, I've seen more than 5 dialysis units. And I'm like, wow, is this because health access is increasing? Do we have more health access, or do we have more health conditions even in the rural areas? Especially with the setting that I'm creating for you. And that is the reason why it is important to talk about medical research. Because sometimes, often, when we talk about clinical research, we usually focus on doing research on people that volunteers to use their bodies for those treatments to be tested before they can be available in the market. But I want you to look at this at a broader light and consider that it's also about understanding what is happening in our community. looking at the scenario that I posted earlier with regard to the dialysis, do you think we have more medical conditions or do we have more access to health? What is happening? Why do we need more dialysis units in a particular village versus back then? So my topic today, I will focus more on educating the community about the importance of research. And I actually went out and I was like, what would be the best way to communicate this subject? How can I get more people to understand and see this episode? Because in most cases, the people that have been watching my episodes are people that already know about research. And I'm usually just preaching to the converted, people that are in the market of clinical research, the researchers that are already working there. I want to get through to the whole of Africa. I want the community at large to understand the importance of medical research and to understand why it is important for them to participate. So I have a guest today. I'm not going to be talking alone, though you know I love talking to myself, but today I'm going to do it differently. Guess who is in the studio with me today? I have Nsuku Mabunda.
Yes.
Hello, Nsuku.
Hello, doctor.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? It's quite an honor to be sitting here as a clueless person about clinical researching, but I'm willing to learn and I'm here to ask you questions that most communities or people in the communities would like to know. So I'm happy to join you.
Okay. I'm really happy you agreed to join and you agreed to step out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
For those that don't know Nsuku was a contestant and she came out as the top in the top 3 of Big Brother season 5 in 2025.
Yes.
And she has a whole lot of following because of her craft and how she actually connects with the audience in her own way.
Yeah.
So today I want to also introduce you to research, Nsuku, because I think it is important for the community to understand research.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But have you heard about clinical research or what do you want to know?
First and foremost, I think I've heard of clinical research. It's crazy because the first time I heard of clinical research was through you. But also I'm interested in knowing what exactly clinical research is, what it deals with, and what it targets in communities. Who are people that should be involved in clinical researching, you know? Also, we have seen that you have your own clinical research center. I would like to know what kind of people go there, who are the people who should be in clinical research centers, and what are they doing there? So I hope you answer me that and everybody else that's watching.
That is a mouthful. It's the whole objective of today, actually, that you've summarized.
Yes.
But I just want to take you a step back before we go into that, because clinical research, it's a field. It's like talking about engineering. You know, I mean, mechanical engineering, it's another field in engineering.
Yes.
So clinical research, it's another field in research. So maybe let's start by asking, what is research? You know, in your understanding.
Okay.
have you done research? Because you're actually
I've done
qualified.
research.
Yeah.
Yes,
what kind
I've
of research have you done before?
Okay. My research was an umbrella for all types of research. The research that I did, it's just an umbrella for all types of research. You know, all the fundamentals of researching, you know, in construction, in administration, in all different forms.
Okay.
So I came to understand because it's written clinical. You know, yours is clinical research. With my own understanding, I think clinical researching, it's finding out about the sickness or the disease, the treatment, the medication that is involved in it, and how to combat, you know, certain sicknesses. And also in terms of medication, how you can advance the medication for a particular disease or sicknesses. That's just my understanding. You can correct me.
You're correct in that. You covered the definition of clinical research, and you gave a bit of an introduction of what is research when you said it was to find out.
Yes.
It's to find out. It's to search.
Yes.
So similarly, like before you joined Big Brother, you had to search to understand, and you had to have a goal.
Yes.
Remember, you had to have a goal, like, what am I planning to get out of this? And before you even had a goal, from your research, you generated in research, we'll call it a hypothesis.
Yes.
You've generated what you expect to get out of that, or what you think works. I don't know if maybe you joined because you wanted to win the money, or you wanted to get famous.
Yes.
So there's an objective.
Yes, absolutely.
So before you go into any venture, you have an objective, and then you go and find out. So in this regard, like you explained, with the clinical aspect of things, you definitely described it very well. It's all about finding out how the medications work and how the body responds to the medication, but with the goal of getting better treatments out there. So the goal overall is to get better treatment for certain conditions, or even to understand the conditions better. I don't know, maybe you want to, I
would like to know when you say to get better medication and also on how your body responds to the medication. My question is, do you produce the medication? Do you make the medication? Or do you, for an example, let's say for an example, I've caught the flu. And I come to you and then I tell you that this kind of medication has not been working. My flu has just gotten worse after using this medication. Do you, as a clinical researcher, say, we have a specific medication that we're gonna use on you for you to feel better, or to see how your body responds to it?
So let's take it a step back.
Yes.
Let's think of a situation. Maybe you can think of it, a situation where maybe you've heard of someone who's been sick. Maybe they have a particular condition and they are taking treatment, but it's not helping. Have you ever encountered something like that?
Yes, when your body rejects certain medication. Yes. In a sense of maybe a headache.
In a sense of a headache?
Yes.
Let's think chronic conditions. You know what chronic condition?
Yes.
We can also look at...
Okay.
I want a chronic condition because I can give a better
Okay, let's look at chronic. Let's talk about... I know there are people that their bodies have rejected ARVs in a way. Or maybe it's not as effective as it is to somebody else. Okay. So I want to understand where does clinical research comes in that case. Yes, because both of us, it's an example, could be infected by HIV and AIDS, and we take the same medication, but our bodies does not respond the same.
The same
in
way.
Terms of even how a person looks, you know. You might look like you're not taking any type of medication, looking more healthier when you're taking ARVs. Meanwhile, on the other hand, I look like whatever medication that I'm taking, it's not even working at all. So I want to understand where does clinical research comes in. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you're also bringing that with HIV. But I'm so glad that we have so much improved treatment in HIV now that even people, if you're taking HIV treatment, even those kind of side effects, we call them side effects, especially when there's what we call an untoward event occurring. So let's say you are taking a particular medication, an untoward event will be like, for example, if you have side effects, something that was not expected to happen, or it's expected but it's not something nice, like you're describing that you can have like a different kind of observation, like maybe someone looks different from the other, you know. So I just want to clear that, especially with HIV, we pass those stages. HIV treatment is working properly. But going into your question about the different people responding differently to different medication. Let's start at a point where there was no HIV treatment. Let's start at a point where ARVs were not accessible. We know that at this current moment, anyone in South Africa can have access to ARV. Yes. Where did they come from?
I think that's what I would like to know, because also your question brings me to ask myself the difference between clinical research. Now that you explained that, the difference between clinical research and the normal medical treatment. Yes, I would like, because it's so confusing that where do you guys come in? Because I'm sure that everyone from where I'm from in the rural areas, us that are not even familiar with clinical research, the only way a person can get treated is through the normal medical treatment that everybody knows. So when you ask me right now that how and where was ARVs, because HIV and AIDS was there, but ARVs were not accessible.
Yes, they were not even available.
Yes. So I would like to know from you as a clinical researcher and doctor, that where was the difference?
Yeah. So remember the objective, the goal of clinical research in regards to new medicines or improving medicines is to bring something in the community that may work better or work differently, or if there was no treatment, to bring new treatment. And if there was no system to diagnose, like let's think about HIV. Back then, I'm sure when HIV started, we didn't have rapid kits where you can just take your blood at home and you can test and see if you are positive or not. At the beginning, you had to give your samples, then goes to the laboratory. And then at the laboratory, then they will give the results back, maybe even after 2 days or so. But now you can just go to Discam and buy a diagnostic. That kit, it's also part of clinical research. So through research, through people, scientists, highly skilled scientists all over the world, they sit and study those things. Not necessarily just the treatment, the IRV. They also study diagnostics and say, okay, it's taking us so long to diagnose HIV. I want to know, maybe I want to know today after maybe I have had unprotected sex. I want to know as fast as possible. Yes. Or, so what are other options? So it's about curiosity. Research start with, think about curiosity. How curious are you?
Speaking of curiosity, as a clinical researcher, now that we're looking at HIV and AIDS, is there a possibility right now or in future that HIV and AIDS can be cured through clinical researching? Because now, as a clinical researcher, now you know that, okay, this is the diagnosis of HIV and AIDS. This is the treatment of HIV and AIDS. Do you see it in future that as a clinical researcher that we might be able to cure it completely in our bodies? Because
I knew for sure that I'm going to get myself into trouble. We move from that question. Now we're going to the other question. And these are all critical questions that you're answering. So I just want to that would be I'll answer that after I explained about the difference. Because you ask a critical question, differences between research and treatment.
Yes.
That's the first. No, but remember, I want to explain to them. You caught it. I think you're already getting it, but I don't think I've explained it better.
Enough. Okay.
Yeah, and then after that, then I will talk about what is happening in medical development.
Yes.
What is happening in medical development? Take medical development similar. The other day I was doing a project with my son. They were like, think about in their project, they needed to look at the past, the present, and the future. And she chose to look at a TV. So we went back and looked at how did a TV look like in the past? That box, black and white, using a battery, maybe not even using electricity. And we look at the current time now where we have smart TVs. You can connect to your Netflix. You can watch your TV on the phone. Now it can connect to multiple devices. And then we look at the future. We could see that the TV thing will move to being like 3D concept where you literally can have structures in your room. Okay, I'm not experiencing this, but already
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to explain.
Yes.
So think about it also in medical advancement.
Yes.
When we talk about HIV treatment, let's not forget the past. We look at the current.
Yes.
And you're talking about the future already.
Yes.
The future is, are we going to have a cure?
Yes.
Because, I mean, are we looking for treatments or are we just looking for cures? As scientists, my scientist, are you working on a cure for HIV?
Yes, because
are you working on a cure or treatment? But that is all what happens in research.
Yes.
So let me give you about. I love talking about the advancements with the research that has gone into HIV.
Okay.
Because I mean, I think when I first learned about HIV was right in the 1990s. And then back then, there was no treatment whatsoever.
Yes.
People died. People, when they started, there was a treatment called AZT. That was what they researched, and they could see that it does have some effect, helping to stop the viral load. Because the problem with HIV is that your body then develop more viruses in your body that, it works with the soldiers of your body, if I may put it that way. You know about your body soldiers?
Yeah.
You know that, ne?
Yes.
Does everybody knows about...
Are they called CD4 counts?
Yes, yeah. They look at the viral load and they look at, the CD4 count is another element of it. But then how much viral load do you have in the system? So then they take the treatment to help lower the virus, to suppress the viral load in your body. And I'm not an HIV specialist, but I can understand the concept. We need to clear that in case I misrepresent information from my fellow scientists that have spent a lot of time researching about HIV.
Yes.
So AZT was at least the first hope. Then from AZT, we moved to other treatments that many scientists across the world managed to come up with, because they had to study first. When you contract HIV, how does your body respond? What systems in your body does HIV affect?
I'm sorry to interject you, but with what you're saying, would you agree that it should be possible that, because we all have different types of bodies and how we respond to ARVs, I don't know. I mean, I don't have anyone who's close to me who's positive for me to know the types of ARVs. Are there types of ARVs that you think should be prescribed in accordance to the type or to how your body responds to it as a clinical researcher?
Okay, so give me some time to move from one question to the other, because I think everything you're asking, it adds another layer to the explanation.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we had treatment with the AZT. We had at a point people were taking about 3 pills or taking it 3 times a day. Now we're at a point where people are taking 1 pill.
A day.
We've been talking about vaccine. There's been a lot of research on vaccine development when it comes to HIV. And the vaccine helps us in the sense that it trains our body so that by the time you get the virus, your body is able to fight it, and then you understand. So there's the vaccine research as well in that manner. And the vaccine research has been progressing. And there has been research that focuses on finding a cure for HIV.
Yes.
But it's still under development. Some are talking about, I don't know if you've heard of stem cells. This is like at the DNA level, where they can replace the DNA that is affected by HIV. This is like high-level research.
Yeah, this is real advancement.
This is artificial intelligence kind of life. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of research that is going into. It does take time. And I always explain this to help people understand why the body is so dynamic. I once, in one of my episodes, I was like, have you ever considered that you have so many specialist medical doctors? You have an orthopedic, you have a cardiologist, you have a dermatologist, you have a gastroenterologist.
Yeah.
I want you to understand how complicated the body is.
That it needs thousands of specialists.
Why is it that way? Yeah. So if you can reflect to that, you will understand sometimes that for one to find a cure, you first need to understand when you have that condition, what aspect of and most people, when they talk about the body, you're looking at the body like this.
The outer part of it.
There is hormones in the body. There's regulators. Like a body on itself is like a system. It's like the whole government. I'm telling you, it's like departments. There's sub-departments. There's DDGs that needs to control. They need to sign the budget. It doesn't just happen. There's hormones that as we are talking now, there's lots of control system that gets into play. So when you contract a particular condition, first of all, you need to understand which system in the body does it affect?
Yes.
And if it affects that system, how did it get there? Then you can start talking about, is it easier to reverse? Because even when you reverse, you give it other treatment, it may affect other systems in the body. So there's also what they call drug-to-drug interaction.
Yes.
I can give you an example with COVID vaccines, for example. We had a time where we had COVID vaccines and they worked. COVID vaccines did work. And then later on, we had side effects.
Yeah.
That's where we talk about system-to-system interaction, the government systems of your body.
That a medication can treat
treat something, but it can
affect.
Hence, research is important because you need to weigh what is the risk and what is the benefit.
Oh, yes.
So you cannot just literally just say, okay, we have a treatment for HIV. What if the treatment leads to people blindness?
Yeah.
What are the side effects that comes with it? So it has to be studied holistically.
Understood.
So it is that big. But what is important now, guys, have you also heard about the PrEP?
The PrEP.
The PrEP.
The PrEP is the new thing in town.
The PrEP, guys. So, guys, we're gonna be in control. I mean, we know that there are things as humans that we want to partake on. So if you know, and you know that, you cannot trust everyone. The PrEP. There's PrEP. Already PrEP is there. There's just a better PrEP that you can take every 6 months that is being launched. And I'm so glad that South Africa was part of research that actually brought that into market. We do so much research, not just South Africa, many African countries. They were part of that research. So you asked me, me and Nsuku, guys, I really got myself into it today. So think about it. Like, you asked me, I just want to recap that I covered all your questions. You're asking me about the differences between research and treatment. So treatment, you can buy at the pharmacy.
Yes.
Research, you have to find research centers that are doing that research. It could still be some treatments that are already available in the pharmacy. Maybe they are studying it to see for other conditions how best they work. I'll give an example with this weight loss treatments. So these weight loss treatments were initially firstly treatment for diabetes. But then they realized that when you taking it for diabetes, it helps with weight loss. Then they started studying it in weight loss, in researching it in weight loss, so they can get it registered for weight loss. Then you can buy it and for weight loss.
So is that how clinical researchers get involved in finding out that, okay, this is a treatment for diabetes, but it makes you lose weight?
Yes.
So now we're gonna also make it for people who want to lose weight.
Obviously, they need to look at the risk and the benefit profile. You can just take, because now it makes people lose weight. What are the other risks attached to it? What if you take it and it lowers your blood sugar because you don't have high blood sugar?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot involved. So clinical research has its expertise that includes scientists, medical doctors, pharmacists, biostatistics, data analytic. Yeah, so many skills that comes together, and they then look at and say, how does the body respond to this particular entity that we're using? Okay, so I would also like to know,
when you are doing clinical research, remember the advantages of whatever medication and also the disadvantages.
Yes.
How do you weigh it? Because obviously with every medication, there will have to be a side effect. How do you weigh it? How do you say, okay, she's got flu, we're going to give her painkillers, but these painkillers are going to affect this and this and this and this to her, but we can still give it to her because this is minor. So I want to know, do you weigh those?
Actually, I like the example that you gave for flu. Have you ever seen that many flu medication, they will say, after taking it, you may get drowsy.
Yes.
Do not drive.
Yes, yes, I've seen that.
So that's how they get the data during research, because they get to see what happens during research. Firstly, you can start getting that data to say, okay, if you take this medication, because the people that are, when you're participating in research, you are being followed up.
Yes.
So there will be a document or a procedure that needs to be followed. For example, they will say maybe you need to be assessed by the doctor every week, every second week, or maybe you will be followed up every 3 months.
Yes.
And every time they are following you up, they will be asking, how are you? Did you have any side effects? Did anything change in your life? Do you think it's related to the treatment? The doctor will make those assessments.
Your rash things.
Yes. Yeah. So then that's why everything is based on, obviously, what we do research for. Firstly, it's safety. We look at the safety, meaning, is it safe? Is it toxic? If it's safe, what does it affect in the body? Can the body tolerate that? First of all. Then you look at, is it effective? Does it work?
Yeah.
Does it work? And if it works, to what level does it work? Does it work better than what is already available? So there's risk benefit dynamics that happens, and there's committees in the different countries. Like, for example, once you've done the clinical research,
yes,
then you take the data in files. Now it's electronic. It's no longer files. Back then, there used to be boxes and boxes sent
Yes.
to the Department of Health. Department of Health has a division. In each and every country, they have a division that regulates medicines. They have a team of specialists there that will sit and look at the information and say, oh, okay, you said this medicine actually helps with flu. But what else does it do?
Oh, yes.
It leads to drowsiness. Okay, how drowsy? Can it lead to anaphylactic shock? Can it have, someone can faint after do you want someone to faint after taking
cardiacs? Yeah, no, absolutely
so
not.
It's those risk-benefit profile.
Okay.
Risk-benefit profile. So there's that's the element. And other element when it comes to safety, especially during research, there are committees that looks at other rights, the safety and the welfare of the people that wants to participate in research being protected.
Yes. So before I ask about that of protecting what are they, patients and so forth, I would like to know, how important is it as someone who has chronic to visit a clinical research center? Like, how important it is. Where I'm from, we have a lot of people with high blood sugar, diabetes, HIV and AIDS, and other chronic diseases. I would like to know, how important is it for them to visit a clinical research center?
So, first of all, what is great in most African countries is that people that have those conditions have access to treatment.
Yes.
So what is important is that people must take their treatment. I'm an advocate for that because I've seen it work. And as being part of research teams that have seen the data, the actual evidence, they call it's evidence-based medicine.
Yes.
So they should take their treatment. Research, you volunteer to participate. You don't...
is it safe?
You volunteer to participate if the research center, maybe in your area, is working on those kind of research.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because you can't just go and say, I have hypertension, I'm here now, I want to be researched, I'm happy. But you can find out what kind of research is your research center conducting. I mean, we have many research centers in Africa, and we are growing with a number of research centers. Yeah, so we don't call people that participate in research participants. We don't call them patients,
okay.
And we don't call them subjects. In the past, they were called subjects because they were misinformed or they were not necessarily taking an active role. Yes. So the reason why we're even having this podcast is to inform people so that you take an active role, you participate, you make a decision, and you say, actually, I want to use my body as a test subject.
Yo, that's a crazy one because putting yourself as you become a lab rat. I'm sorry to say that if
that's the what people say. We need to address that.
You become a lab rat.
Yeah,
yes.
and the rats are also equally important.
Yes,
well.
So I would like to know, what are the risks of taking part of the clinical trials as a lab rat? I mean, I'm not, or you're not.
Would you be a lab rat?
I would.
Do you want to consider?
I would.
But you don't even know what are the risks.
But obviously, I would be a lab rat if you tell me what the risks are. Mm-hmm. So I would like to know what the risks are. Mm-hmm. And I think also people are not going are not doing clinical trials because they don't know what the risks are to
Yeah. It's quite interesting with the risk. What are the risks of taking alcohol?
Risks of taking alcohol.
Let's take it there. Why do we take alcohol, guys? And then what is the risk of smoking?
Okay, I do have an answer for smoking.
Tell me.
It affects your lungs.
Okay.
It affects how you breathe.
Yes.
Yeah. It affects your skin.
You can even develop lung cancer.
Yes, lung cancer, So going into the lab, yeah, I would like to know that.
You would like to know.
Because also a lot of technology is involved in clinical trials. Is that also?
There are technologies that are involved,
yes. Yes, some you might have side effects to just, sound like...
Yeah. So what are the risks involved in clinical trials? Let's go back to, must we go back to the flu? Oh, yes. Actually, let's go back to, I'll give two cases.
Okay.
There's a flu. Let's take now, we say we want to run a flu vaccine trial at a village.
Yes.
A flu vaccine, we already know that a vaccine is something you take even before you get sick.
Yes.
So we want to prevent people from getting sicker when they contract flu. So we invite you and say, hi, Nsuku, you've come to our research center. We are currently running a flu vaccine trial. And the aim of this flu vaccine is to be able to lessen the time people maybe take off work. People get more symptoms. Maybe currently symptoms for flu last for 7 days.
Yes.
And we're saying once you have this vaccine, you may, the probability of you getting sick when you have flu, there will be less. Then we present that flu vaccine and we say, okay, this is how this flu vaccine works. Once you take it during this research, you will develop flu symptoms.
Yes.
Because it's going to activate flu symptoms. And your flu symptoms, Suku, because we don't know how this will work, it may be mild, moderate, or severe. So we're going to be that open. So we'll tell you that we don't know, first of all. But what we've seen from the previous research maybe that we did with the lab rats, because before we get to humans, we start with lab rats. We start in the laboratory. We use different other aspects to check. Then we'll say, okay, what we saw is that this lab rats, for example, or they had a lot of mucus coming out. Literally, you're going to need a roll of tissue to survive during the first 3 days of
blocked nose,
and yes, for example, I mean, even headache.
Headache, yes.
Yeah. But what we're saying to you, Nsuku, if your symptoms get severe, you can contact us and we can allow you to take other treatments that are already available in the market. Okay. It's your choice to make. So we inform you to that level. So would you...
So you know what you're getting yourself into.
You know, you're going to sign the documents. There's documents called like an informed consent.
Yes.
So in that informed consent, we lay it out. Like, Nsuku, this is a research. This research has been approved by so-and-so. This research is being paid for by this company. This is the company that basically is conducting this research. The researchers are just also the middle men in between that need to get the patients for a particular company. You understand?
Yes.
So we explain all those things and you make an informed decision.
Yeah. As long as it does not lead to death, I mean.
Okay, so let's think about that. That is the flu.
Yes, that's the
Let's
flu.
take you are a dialysis patient.
Yes.
And we say, we are doing research now. We have this new innovative device.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to the dialysis center for every day or every week or whatever for you to clear up your toxins in your kidney.
Yeah.
You can actually go to the toilet. I'm just hypothetically, guys, thinking you clear it out yourself. You don't need to go through, and it's making your quality of life. So we propose, better. Remember it's research, still in research phase. We say it can make your quality of life better. And we tell you, you're going to have you may have a cardiac problems. You may faint. You may get sick because we don't know it. But we will manage you if that happens. What will be like? Look, consider the flu research. Consider the dialysis research. You understand? So you have to weigh what are the risks and what are the benefits. And besides, remember,
it comes back to weighing.
And remember, the research is not for your benefit. Let's clarify that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not. You may benefit during research, but you may not benefit at all. Because remember, it's research. We're just finding out. So we need to be very specific in this discussion. That it doesn't mean when you go into research, you'll come up cured. No, you may get worse.
Crazy.
You have to, No, you have to be fully. You know what do they call these people? They call them medical heroes. Because without them,
you not even know whether
paracetamol
the
that we're using
or doesn't
for your headache, which you can just easily go into your cupboard now and take.
So with all the medication that we have today, someone had to take it first.
Yes.
For you to know it works.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's mind-blowing. But imagine we're taking treatment every day, but we don't even know how it's made.
Yeah.
We are just consumers.
Yeah, because the doctor said it works.
The doctor said it works. Yes, it works because the doctor has evidence, and they get the evidence from someone who gave their body.
Medical heroes, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
We have many medical heroes in Africa. We have medical heroes for TB. That's why we know now we can treat TB if we follow the course. And even there is improved TB treatments now. You don't have to suffer the 6 months and all those. There's lots of improvement in TB treatment. We have medical heroes now for Shigella. There's so many conditions in even up there. Ebola.
Speaking of medical heroes, so COVID also has medical heroes.
What do you mean?
I mean, with the vaccine, with the treatment that was there for COVID, was there someone who was a medical hero for COVID to say, okay, you can use my body to test if this vaccine works or if this kind of medication works?
I was already in this research space during COVID vaccine. I actually participated as a researcher in one of the developments for COVID vaccines.
Yes.
There are lots of medical heroes in Africa. South Africa actually was playing a key role. Globally, I remember in one research that I worked on for COVID, there were 25 countries participating in that research. I think we needed to have 25,000 volunteers.
From each country?
I think overall for that project specifically, it was for the whole project, we needed 25,000. So maybe you find that South Africa says we can be able to contribute 1,000. So in South Africa, then we have 10 research centers. So 10 research centers is okay, we can get 100 per research center where we go there and educate people and say, we're doing this research because you can see that we are currently in this situation where there is no treatment for COVID. And they're like, we are investigating, we are researching these vaccines, which have been developed by your big companies that we all know the names. And with COVID, COVID was really a medical emergency. So there's different kind of research. COVID was a medical emergency. We were in lockdown, guys. Scientists had to come up with some solutions.
So when because with COVID, it was a thing that just came and hit us. How long did it take as a clinical researcher, how long does it take actually to conduct such researches in a faster pace, because people are dying? We need the treatment right now. We need the vaccine right now. How long does it usually take for you to come up with, such things?
Using COVID as an example.
Yes.
First of all, what the researchers particularly looked at is like when you contract COVID, when you get infected, what happens to your body? First of all, which system in your body people were in ventilators, if you recall.
Yes.
So I think the first option will be like, with what we already know,
what is it that we can use right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like you just, it was more about testing what is available, what we know about inflammation. They used to say the lungs becomes inflamed.
Yes.
So what are some of treatments that can manage inflammation that we have used for pneumonia? That we have used for similar conditions.
Yes.
Then they start testing those. That's how it started. It's not like, that's why people say, COVID, people develop COVID. And no, they had to use there were other technologies that have been explored already in other treatments.
That has the similarities with, yes.
You understand? There's other treatments. Yeah. So it's you know what, this topic on its own, I think
it's so broad.
It's so broad. You brought in a lot of questions, and I think we've just been talking so seamlessly. Do you have do you have clarity now? I
do have clarity, but before we close it off, I would like you to tell people why is it important for, especially in African countries, for medical heroes, I would like to put them like that, to visit a clinical research, like the importance of it. As someone maybe who has a chronic disease, why is it so important that they should visit a clinical research?
I can see you are passionate about this.
I'm so loving this. I didn't know I'd love this.
Serious?
Yes, because it's so out of my.
You are so passionate. You have become an advocate now.
Yeah.
So the whole conversation is to inform people all around Africa that when we don't participate in research, we are impacting ourselves in the fact that research will happen. It is happening. It's just not happening in Africa. So that is the problem. So there's lots of non-communicable diseases now. Like let's think of the cancers. Back then, knowing someone has cancer was like a taboo. Now you walk around, someone has cancer, and there are treatments. But where were they tested? In Europe, in the US, maybe probably in China and in India. So there's what they call genetics. As African, we have different genomes compared to other countries.
Yes.
So those treatments may work for them, may not work for us. So if we don't get involved in research, we are affecting the future of access to medicine.
Absolutely.
We'll end up having treatments that do not work for us. So there are some high blood pressure medication, for example. If you reach the packaging set, they are literally written, it might not work for Black people. Because obviously at that particular time, it was not tested in Black people.
Yes.
We only find out when it was in use that, no, man, this is not working. This is not. So we need to advocate for more research. So remember, and the worst part of it, we are not the one that drives the agenda because it's quite expensive. So you find that it's driven by pharmaceutical companies in most cases and NGOs. And those are the people that at least have access to private partnerships, private-public partnerships, for example. It's quite expensive. So you find that South Africa or in Africa, if you were to ask how much is the government investing in research? And you research that. We all have Google. TikTok it. I know you guys can TikTok. TikTok it and say how much is the government in your country investing in research versus how much the government in China is investing in research.
Yeah.
You understand? In medical research. Then you will know who drives the agenda. Because the problem is that we're now seeking to participate in research that is not, in most cases, not driven by us. But we are saying, include us, please, as Africa, and we are ready, we are informed, and we can participate. So we can have data.
Treatments also for us.
Yes. We are not being taken advantage, my brothers and sisters. We are being left behind.
Yeah.
So let's start getting to know this is important, because I always say to people, at the end of the day, we're all patients. We all patients. So thank you so much, Nsuku. This was just quite interesting.
Yes, it was.
It was quite interesting. I really appreciate you taking your time.
It's an honor.
And being so prepared. Wow. And people think you know, you're that girl.
Yeah,
they don't know how
it's just a pretty face.
You are so deep, girl. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I think you can be an ambassador for this, eh? Hello, pharmaceutical companies. Hello, researchers. Companies. There's your ambassador there.
I've asked very relevant questions for communities that have no idea, like I didn't when I first came and sat here. But I'm working out very knowledgeable about clinical research and how important it is for me to be a medical hero so that it helps the future, because the future is in our hands.
So we have come to the end of our session today. Have you subscribed to the Breakthrough Clinical Trials Lounge? You need to subscribe, you need to share so that we can educate more people. So thank you very much.